So, Mark, did you see that chip that somebody cashed in at Aria? Apparently, it's a counterfeit chip, and they successfully cashed it in at the cage. And I don't know how this happened because it doesn't look real at all. Note the apostrophe in the name.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was spelled properly. The fact that it wasn't even spelled properly and it looks a little cheap, it's even if it's buried, they always look at all the chips like individually when they count it out and stack it up and then lay it out for the camera. So I'm kind of surprised. You know, that's pretty risky, pretty ballsy to go for it too. I'm shocked it went through, but I'm also surprised people even try anymore.
Yeah, I know that's a big concern with the casinos. We cashed in some Cosmo chips that we had from a while back the other day, and I told Jasmine to make sure she played a little bit, just so you don't walk in the casino and cash them in, even though they were legitimate chips. It's hard to believe that this happened, and I'm sure that person probably got in a lot of trouble. And, we're humans. We make mistakes.
Precursor to Friends.
This week was a little interesting. I was on the Strip for Labor Day and for my wife's birthday, and we stayed at Nomad. I'll talk about that on a future show. Spent a lot of time at Cosmo. I'll talk about that on the next show because we have so much to cover this week. But the day after, we stayed out till like 3 a.m. And, we're old, Mark, so we don't usually stay out till 3 a.m. And then at 7 a.m. the next morning, our son had dropped our daughter off at school. It was all arranged, right, so that we could do this. We get a phone call. School is canceled. That's the one elementary school where the teachers decided to do sort of a call out. And this is happening in the school district. There's a lot of backlash here. Teachers want more pay, and there's backlash against the stadium and some of the public financing and stuff like that. So it's been kind of ramping up, and it seems like every day there's a new school where they're calling in sick, which is an interesting thing and just bad timing for us. It was a little frustrating. We had to go pick her up. Then she got to spend the day at Nomad with us. So she got to pick up the Park MGM pool credit. So she's slowly getting to all of them. And she's starting to embrace this. She loves these pools. But yeah, there's a new initiative going on that they want to get onto the ballot to basically take back the public funding for the A's stadium and give it to the teachers. So this battle is getting sort of hot and heavy right now here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, I imagine something will happen where they give the teachers a little bit of something and keep the A's money going. I doubt that this works, even though it seems like a lot of Vegas locals are not excited about the stadium or the A's coming. I think it's just kind of too far along for that to stop. But I definitely think teachers should make more money. They put in a lot of effort. They spend a lot of their own money. They work during the summer, even though you think they don't. They still put in the time getting stuff prepped and ready. So I don't blame them. I mean, it stinks that they're calling in and taking away from the kids to get that noticed. I wish that didn't have to happen.
So the way they can get a referendum on the ballot in 2024 is to get 10% of the signatures of the number of people who voted in the last election. That's over 100,000 signatures that they would need by next year. So we'll kind of follow that and see how it is. But yeah, as a parent, I was the one affected. I support the teachers. I was a little frustrated in the morning just because we had stayed up late. All that's in the past. I suppose she suffered by having to spend the day on the Strip with us as opposed to being in school. So you mentioned mistakes. And on the last show, we talked about this Friends 25th anniversary that MGM was going to do. It's on the MGM site, got the information directly from there. No year was mentioned, but neither you or I knew that Friends started 29 years ago, meaning that happened in 2019. So I'll throw some stuff up from an article I found about how it actually went down 4 years ago, but it's not happening this year. Sorry about that. 3 years of doing the show, it's the first time it's happened.
We forgot to announce that we also found a time machine, so we can still do it, and everybody will be happy then.
And there you go. So did you see the Las Vegas lights are back? They're trolling the Oakland sports fans, I guess, basically giving half-price tickets to anybody who wears either an A's or a Raiders jersey. They're always coming up with these different initiatives. They see it as entertainment and sport all together. We talked about their cash drop last year, their $5,000 cash drop. They just did it again a few days ago where they dropped $5,000 in cash from a helicopter. This team is so cool in the way that they're doing things. I really hope, I know this is a long shot, but that they get promoted up to the MLS when we get a team. We need that sort of fire in our professional soccer teams.
I mean, they might get more fans than the A's, so they got that going for them. But no, it's always cool to see, and I know some people were upset about this, and especially people that live in Oakland and everything, and I get that, but I think it's just fun. The goal of marketing is to get people talking about your product, and this definitely does it. And they do all these unique things like the baby pools by the side of the field, or you can park your car up on the grass and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see because you don't see that a lot in sports. Usually it's $1 hot dogs or $2 beers. Nobody does anything too unique. I appreciate the effort, even if it maybe ruffled some feathers.
Their best promotion to date was the $1 juice night with Jose Canseco. That was a good one. That was a nice troll right there.
We still have never done the Jose Canseco car wash, have we?
Oh, no, we didn't. Is it still there? I haven't driven by that area. Trop and Jones. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Got to get over there and try that. So it wouldn't be MTM Vegas if we didn't have another strange story. And this is one at MGM Grand. I was actually at MGM Grand on September 4th on Labor Day, and that's when this happened. This guy meets this lady in the casino. This is all alleged, but she claims that he and her were going to go to a club, so he invited her to a room so they could get ready. Some sort of fight ensued, and he was trying to get $200 back from her. Sounds like maybe he paid her and, wasn't enough money. We don't really know. But this fight happens. She ends up on the ground, and somehow her foot ends up in the door or something, and her toe ends up getting taken off, right? It's just a crazy story. Security comes, the guy is arrested, and he was charged with mayhem. And I didn't know what this meant, but it apparently consists of unlawfully depriving a human being of a member of his or her body, or disfiguring it, rendering it useless. So that's mayhem according to the law here. Another crazy night in Vegas.
Sounds like maiming versus mayhem. Mayhem, I think, just like being a ruckus and crazy. I don't know. That's weird. I think we're to the point that you just don't go to rooms with strangers, especially strangers that are expecting to get paid for something. We've seen enough robberies and stabbings and everything like that good things don't happen when that goes down. So maybe if you're looking for that, just go to a place that procures that for you in Pahrump or something like that. It might be a little bit safer. Wasn't there somebody did a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the casino like in the last week too? In Vegas, like things are just wild as ever.
Yeah, that was a crazy one because there was a lot of video of it. He was a retired Metro officer, I believe, but a retired police officer, and he accidentally shot himself in the leg, almost killed himself. I think he did survive, and it was right in the Horseshoe Casino, right in the middle of the casino during the day. Tons of people saw it. It just makes you realize that Las Vegas is unique. Yeah.
I don't know, like just leave your gun at home or in the car. I don't know why you bring it in a casino or put the safety on. It seems like there's a lot of things, especially if you're a retired cop. I'm just kind of surprised by that. It's scary. And I'm sure everybody was freaked out. You hear a loud bang these days. You don't know what's going to happen. So just, Vegas, crazy as always.
Let's talk about anticipated restaurant openings. Eater has an article talking about what's going to open. And obviously, Fontainebleau is going to have a ton of restaurants. Durango is going to have a ton of restaurants. So a lot of new stuff coming on the scene this fall. But outside of that, Caesars is getting their 2 new restaurants. Peter Luger is finally going to come. I think they announced that like 2 years ago, it seems like. It's going to open in October. And then, of course, Bobby Flay can't stop himself. This time he's going French with Brasserie B by Bobby Flay, which is going to open in late 2023. So Caesar's getting a lot of stuff. Zippy's, which is a big Hawaiian brand out of Hawaii, they announced their store many, many years ago, finally going to open in October. I know a lot of local Hawaiians are excited about that, and I'm excited to give that a try. Of course, Whataburger coming in late 2023. And then LPM Restaurant and Bar at Cosmo. This place sounds kind of cool. It's described as white walls, vibrant art, freshly cut flowers, and a lively atmosphere for daytime lunch and evening dinner parties. Sounds very Cosmo to me.
Burger Brassier, was here, and that was one of my favorite spots, like kind of hidden gem. And I don't know if this is a tie into that or not. I'm guessing not since it's a French restaurant. But I thought it was funny because they both were in Caesar's properties. And then no pictures for Fontainebleau restaurants. Shocker.
Yeah, it's still a shocker. Fontainebleau, we're waiting for you to release all of the information that we need. So let's move on to Allnet, Mark, your favorite thing to talk about. We thought it was going to finally be dead, but they applied for an extension. September 6th, which was this week and has already passed, was the deadline. So they've already passed that. So they should just be thrown out and have to start over. But the county commission is going to consider giving them another extension. They're going to hear it in October, and they're going to get another shot at this. I found it very insightful that County Commissioner Tick Segerblom, which is an incredible name, he said, the problems all along have been about the money. No duh. I mean, they don't have the money. That was a very insightful thing.
It's about the lack of building, not the money. This is just bizarre. And we talked about this, when we first saw the news off the show that, why don't they just sell the land? I'm sure it's worth so much more than it was. Force sell it, just get your money and run at this point. It's just crazy that they're allowing this to go on. Somebody could use that. It's in a great spot, could use it for something valuable and would probably get started as long as they have the funding. Allowing people to propose things without having money lined up is just bizarre to me. And if they extend this, you really need to check the government's donations, because I don't understand why else somebody would be putting this through unless they're getting some backdoor money or something.
There's a lot going on in Vegas right now where the government doesn't seem to really care about what the people think or how it affects it. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But Rio, there's good news there. They're actually taking down the Penn and Teller sort of marquee that's on the side of the building, or the wrap or skin or whatever you want to call it. They're painting the building, and I was told that they're taking down all the old neon and replacing it. I don't know if it's going to be new neon or it's going to be LEDs. I would imagine it's LEDs because that's cheaper, easier to deal with, and everything else. But that outside is getting refreshed. It should be done in the next month or so. So that's a good sign. It'll look fresh on the outside because the paint has just been so bad for so long. We know that it's going to be years before the inside's all done, but they're moving along here, and we don't know if they're going to replace it with another Penn and Teller wrap or just let those new lights and that beautiful glass kind of shine through.
Yeah, I think, Penn and Teller was the big draw there for the last several years. So I understand why it was there. It was kind of the thing that brought people to the property. But if you're remodeling this, and, Penn and Teller's got to be somewhat close to the end of their run, I don't think you need to wrap your building in it. If it looks nice and modern and you're updating it, I think that will be the selling feature, as well as the new rooms and the updates in the casino. Penn and Teller will just be like an extra spiff on top of that. So I wouldn't put the wrap back up if it was me. If you're making it look nice and the lights look cool and everything and you got that draw, I think you just leave it off.
I agree. Penn and Teller are extended through 2026 there, so Dreamscape did sort of give them the continuity, and they're the only thing I think of inequality there, and I know that's debatable for some, but I do like them. Before we get into our last story, which is the heartbreak of Bellagio, we wanted to talk. We're going to launch a Patreon for people who want to see more of us talk deeper into Las Vegas, joke around a bit, be a little bit more loose than we are in this show, and have fun. So we're going to do a weekly after show just for patrons. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So we're going to launch that next week, so look out for it, and it's going to be fun. We'll also do some backstory and some other stuff along the way, but you'll definitely get a weekly after show, which we're really excited to make. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Get a little more loose. Maybe some of the stuff that we joke about while we're filming and don't put on the air can end up there and things like that, and just cut it loose a little bit more. And maybe we'll have a meetup here and there just for Patreon members when we're in Vegas together and everything like that. So I'm excited for it, excited to get to know people a little bit better and through this and all that type of stuff.
Yep, nothing's going to change about this show. It's just additional content for people who want more. And let's talk about Bellagio, Mark, or the Formula One, or how this entire thing just keeps pissing people off. And this is the worst. We got concept art of the Bellagio grandstands a few months ago, and on some level, Bellagio had confirmed they were relocating some of the trees out in front of the fountains. And it was widely believed that all the trees would be relocated, planted somewhere else, and then moved back after the race. But we learned this week, without any real announcement, that they cut down all the trees that are along the street. The ones that are in the alcoves, they say they are moving and replanting them, and then they'll move them back around New Year's. But it is ugly. These trees are 25 years old. They date back to when the Bellagio opened. They were big. They provided a lot of shade, beauty out there, and they just mowed them down. And their PR response was, "This work is part of preparations for the Las Vegas Grand Prix and our efforts to provide the best possible experience through improved visibility, mobility, and pedestrian access and safety." So that is their spin.
Yeah, but they're giving back to the community. You forgot about that part.
Yeah, they're putting them in the wood chipper, and then they're giving them to the parks. So forgive all of that. Forget all of it. It's okay. Oh, man.
The park. One park worth of wood chip. I don't know. Just give people firewood and say, "Here, go ahead, enjoy a late night fire with our wood." It's bizarre. I don't understand why you would move some and not others. I assume that it's the same process for each. I don't know, what would be different between the alcove trees and the ones up front, unless they just said, "You know what, we'll move a couple of these because they're a pain in the butt, and let's just chop down the rest so we can appease both sides of things." I don't know. But it is sad to see, and even when they bring in trees after the Grand, which maybe they don't ever bring those back. Maybe that's the difference, because they're going to just have to do this every year for the next several years. So maybe the alcove trees they'll bring back, but the front ones are just going to be gone for good, which would be really, really sad.
PR is one thing, you got to spin stuff, but they could have done a better job of saying what's going to replace it, if anything. I would guess planters. These are big square grates that the trees sit under, so they could put planters in that would be relatively easy to cover up or remove for future races. And I'm guessing, to your point, that's why they ended up doing it, just the amount of money it would cost every year to do this, and maybe it wouldn't have been good for the trees anyway to be moved every single year. So I don't really know, but it's just not a good visual, and Formula One has just pissed off a lot of people, including some people this week kind of got up in arms about the Paddock building. And Formula One, up until this point, had not said anything about it. It's called the Paddock Building. That's the last name of the October 1st shooter. Paddock is the name of the building that they use worldwide, so it's not like they named it anything special. They hadn't said anything about it, but this week they finally said they're considering changing the name. I think that's good. I hadn't heard from a single person who was offended by this, who kind of understood that this is a word that exists elsewhere, but why not change it? I mean, if it upsets people, then I guess we should do it.
I would guess they come in, they don't know that history. It's something you don't expect and you wouldn't connect the two. So I can understand why they would come in with the name they use everywhere. And I could also understand why locals would, get upset about it. So I think it's a good thing to change. There's no real harm. It's just a building. Like, the name doesn't really matter if you're F1. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah, F1 has just made some interesting choices throughout all of this. Going to the government for more money, not rolling out the entire construction schedule, making it very difficult for people. Things like this, I think, are good. If they were going to do it, why not just do it in the first place? They were trying to extort money out of businesses, telling them they had to pay $1,500 a person. They backtracked on that. So there's been pushback all along. I would love to know their perspective on this, because they can't be happy with the amount of pushback and the amount of anger that have come back. And I do not know a single person who lives here, and I've talked to a lot, that support this race. And that says something. I mean, obviously the casinos do, and the people who sort of work in that industry that want to drive tourism, they do, but locals day to day, they're upset, and hopefully this goes off well. We still got 2 more years of races, but cutting down the Bellagio trees is not going to help make people support this thing.
Could you imagine if they only do the 3 years and then pull out after all this money and time and effort spent, and the things they've changed that you can never change back and stuff like that? And then after 3 years, everybody's like, you know what? This was a mistake. Man, I don't know if that would be better or worse. It would just be kind of shocking.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to stay positive, and I hope the race is good and spectacular, and it helps the city at this point, because it's happening. They're doing all this stuff. The county commissioners have basically let them do whatever they want, and that's what we get. So let us know about the Bellagio trees, Formula One, education, the A's Stadium, AllNet. I mean, we can't get rid of this news story with AllNet, so I hope you had lots of MTM Vegas drinks with that news. But hit us up in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with a new show. Thanks so much for watching. Look out for the Patreon. Talk to you next time.
Hopefully when you guys see this, the Lions have already won. Let's go.
Go Pack Go.
See you guys next week.
It's that Tick Segerblom.
What a name.
Tick Segerblom. I don't know how to say his name. What a name. That county Thanks for calling me out for saying it wrong. Get all the French Fountain Blue people on me now again.
No, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but should we just cut that whole thing out? I don't know.